Hey, what's up, guys? BJ Dell back with a new video, and it's Wednesday, so that can only mean one thing. That's right, it's time for a new weekly art challenge review video. Last week's word was monster, so let's see what you guys came up with. Alright guys, so let's not waste any time and jump right into it today. So the first one up on the monster prompt is from Jamie Ann, and pull it up there. It's a landscape one, so kind of had to adjust the canvas. As you can see, this one's really great. It's got a nice painterly style to it. The first thing that I first thought of when I saw this one is it really reminds me of concept art from movies. So when, you know, a director or producer is trying to set the feel and the tone for, you know, what they want the movie to be, and start to get kind of mood boards going, this is really what it reminds me of. Honestly, some of my favorite books are movie books that are the art of whatever fill-in movie there, just because you can kind of see the thought that goes into it, just the concept designs, the basic beginnings of the whole art process. So if you guys haven't checked out any of those books, especially if the movie's fairly new, there's a lot of books out there. So if you have a favorite movie that's come out in the past few years, look it up and see if there's an art of book. I've got a bunch of them, and I absolutely love to flip through those and see stuff like this. So like I said, very painterly style. I like the choice of colors that are used. You've got really good contrasting colors. The monster being, you know, super dark, and then the background being that lighter, but it's not so light that it's, you know, bright and shiny. It still looks very ominous, and this kind of sets that whole mood for the overall piece. This shows you really too what you can get from using a background. I know a lot in the videos that I do, I just basically do a one character drawing, don't really do a background. And honestly, the reason for that is just because of you know, time restraints and constraints with the video process. I don't want them to run too long, but this really shows you taking the time to do a background, what can be added to a design, and I think this is just fantastic. Obviously, some of my favorite parts are just the water, the reflection of the trees in here are super nice. Plus, I like the use of the different brushes and colors here on the edge where this water meets the bank here. It's got that nice hard-lined edge to it, and when you zoom in, you can see it's just done by using a couple of different colors that are varied between the watercolor and then the foreground color here, to where once you pull back out, it's got that very nice, like, crisp break between the two pieces there, and I really like that. And I like the monster itself. It's not the, I guess, the focal point of the piece. It is, but at the same time, it ties in with the background, and there's as much detail and care given to the background as the monster. And I like it that there's not a lot of detail to the monster. It's just a very, you know, shadowy black figure. You've got the nice eyes glowing there, and then the way that this kind of trails off, and this whole side over here is this almost black color. I just like how everything flows, and it is super awesome. So fantastic job, Jamie Ann. I loved seeing this one this week. Next one up is Grant's. Let me flip the canvas back around. All right, so Grant did an alfalfa vampire, I think is what he said. Super cute design. The line work is really clean. The whole design just reads really well. It's got a very nice finished, polished look to it. I know somebody had said in the comments too that their favorite part was they liked the hands grabbing a hold of the cape, and I think that is a nice touch, having the hands grasping the cape over here. As far as shadows and highlights, those look really good, and just the overall, like I said, it's got a really nice, clean, sharp look to it. The one thing I wasn't a big fan of is how the moon behind him gets cut off by the edges of the design. Using that round circle moon behind him, I would have probably, and if you needed to, you know, shrink him down to have the moon still extend out past his edges, but I would probably have, you know, the moon being the perfect circle here to where it doesn't get chopped off by those edges, and just kind of having it framing him. So if you need to, on something like this, you know, you can shrink down your main character and then do the moon further out. Of course, by selecting multiple layers at once, you can actually move everything all at once if you've got the lines and the shapes or the colors and the highlights and everything on different layers. You can move all of them together, so that way you don't have to try to line stuff up afterwards. To do that, you'll just slide and select multiple ones, and then you can move them all at once, and that's in Procreate. So, but yeah, overall, really, really strong design. Grant did a fantastic job on this one this week. Next one up is Ryan, and I think Ryan called his monster Hot Mess Monster, and honestly, I love this one. Definitely has a different look to it compared to some of the other ones, and I like it's just a very strong, bold, like a graphic design choice. The colors work really well together. I like the use of the strong primaries and the way that you've got the black here going into the green, and then you also have some of the white in the middle. I think that's really nice how that looks. The choice of the red and the purple on the teeth and the mouth down here work really well. And just overall, the design, the first thing I thought about when I saw this was just like that kinetic energy that it has. It's almost got like an electric feel to it, and it reminded me of the electricity gremlin from Gremlins 2. It just had that feel to it. So Gremlins is one of my favorite movies, by the way. But yeah, I love this so much. It's got, like I said, a lot of energy to it, and it's super cool looking. So thanks for sharing that one this week, Ryan. I really like that. Next one up, we've got a zombie from Amy, and this one really cool. Another great example this week of what doing a background can add to a picture. So you can see Amy wasn't content with just doing the character. She also did the graveyard and the background. And one of the nice touches here is using a blur. If you go into adjustments and then go to the blur, you can actually blur out the background. So she actually has kind of a depth of field going on. The zombie being closer to the viewer is in sharp focused, whereas the background is a little bit blurred out. So I think that's a really wise choice, and it really highlights the main character and adds to it because you've got the extra stuff in the background, but it's not fighting for the attention of the viewer since it does have that nice blur to it. I know one of Amy's comments was she kind of struggled with how to light the zombie with the moon being behind him. And one of the things that I would do and recommend if you're doing moons like this and suns or what have you, I would get rid of the line on any light source like this. It just looks kind of weird having, an actual outline to the moon. So that's one thing that I would do is just drop that out. It's going to look better without that. And then basically the edges are going to be outlined. And that's why I chose the next one, because we'll see a perfect example of how to do that next. So the next one up is from Jay. And Jay stuff I just absolutely love. Fantastic. This one is The Demon from Legend, another fantastic 80s movie. And you can see here, Jay actually has this fire behind him and how it's lighting. It's got all these edges have a nice soft glow to them. So that's basically how you would do let me move his underneath. That's basically how you would do the zombie as well. So you'd want the nice soft glow around the edges. To be able to do that, you'll see what Jay did here. You want to do the layer on top of the lines layer, just so this way you can see it actually goes over top of that line. If you did it underneath, that outline's still going to be the hard black. So by doing it on top of, it's actually going to go over that and kind of soften up that edge, and it's going to be a little bit more believable as far as how you do that background glow. So there's a little tidbit of using one artist to show a question from another artist as far as an example. So those kind of tied in well together this week. I love how Jay did the embers coming up here. Just really frames the character really well. And, the use of these sharp whites just really make him look like he's, glossy and glowing. The overall use of just the highlights and shadows really make him pop and give a lot of depth and dimension to the character, like the shine here from the horns, and just overall a really strong piece from Jay again this week. And like I said, love seeing Jay's work. So thanks so much for sharing. But that gives you 5 different ones today from Jamie Ann, Grant, Ryan, Jay, and Amy. So thanks so much for sharing, guys. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. As always, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. Just want to give a shout out and a thanks to everyone that submitted designs this week over on Facebook. The group is called Keep Creating, a Learn, Draw, Share art community. The link is in the description below, so if you haven't yet, after this video, hop on over and join. Start sharing your work and you might see it featured in an upcoming video. So, last week's word was monster, and the word for this week is fairy. Want to see what you guys can do? One of my favorite fairy artists of all time is Brian Froud. If you haven't heard of him, he was actually the character designer and concept artist on a lot of Jim Henson stuff like Dark Crystal and Labyrinth. So, I really want to see what you guys do. Huge fan of fairies and a huge fan of Brian Froud. Look him up if you haven't heard of him. His artwork is fantastic. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.